What in the world did I just play? Ladies and gentlemen, I waited a few days before talking about this DLC because I want to talk about spoilers. So this will be a spoiler review because there are so many questions that I have, things that confused me, and what this means for the Resident Evil franchise going forward. Alright, so the DLC starts off with basically Rose talking about how she wants her powers to be removed. She gets bullied and she just wants to be a normal person just like everybody else. So she goes to her friend scientist named Kay, and I'm just gonna say it right off the bat. Why? Okay, look, it was a cool little twist. Oh, the whole time it was a hallucination. But he really did seem like a really cool character. I was like, okay, this is actually a pretty interesting character. He wants to be a friend to Rose and he genuinely wants to help her out. But at the end of the game, Mother Miranda shows up and she's like, oh yeah, that was just an illusion. I just feel like it's kind of a lazy excuse to sit there and just be like, huh, gotcha, it was fake the whole time. I get what they were trying to do, but it really just had me looking just like, why? So Rose enters the MKIceAndFire realm to obtain a crystal that will purify her powers. She enters this realm and then Rose notices that there are multiple other Roses. Rose then ends up running into some spirit guardian angel who she ends up calling Michael. But it turns out that Michael is actually Ethan. Now, I think a lot of people predicted this, and I think it was kind of predictable. Now, this is something I really liked about this DLC that I've seen nobody else talk about. See, people find it goofy. They're just like, why wouldn't Ethan just tell Rose that it's him? But it makes sense, and Ethan even explains at the end that he's just trying to protect Rose.
Why'd you let me call you Michael?
I didn't want to complicate things. I just needed you safe.
If he sat there in that moment and said, oh yeah, it's me, Ethan, then Rose would have proceeded to do her mission. Like, oh my God, Ethan, I gotta find you. But Ethan's like, no, Rose, you should not be here. It's way too dangerous. You need to turn around and go back. So Michael, or Ethan, is her guide throughout the game. He gives her items, hints, etc. But then Rose ends up running into the merchant. So supposedly Mother Miranda took the merchant and like turned him evil or something like that. This isn't like a story lore breakdown video, so I could be wrong, but that's kind of the vibe I got. She basically took the merchant and, you know, turned him evil, gave him this mask and, you know, these powers or whatever. So at this point in the game, it turns into a wild goose chase. And I kind of like that because it adds more stakes to the character. But surprise, surprise, we get another stalker enemy. Now, I need to talk about this real quick. Let me know if you guys agree with me on this, but I feel like this stalker enemy boss fight is actually really underrated. I played this on normal difficulty and I was low-key kind of struggling with this boss fight. It wasn't like the hardest boss fight. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's so challenging, but it was really tense. Like, it was really tense. At first I was like, oh, it's kind of easy. I can kind of juke him around this little thing. But then it turns out, oh my God, the goose coming in, other creatures are coming in. So you have to worry about them. You have to try not to get grabbed. Then you got to worry about the big stalker dude. And then you got to wrap around and do all these little, you know, weird tricks. It's like, there's just too much going on. But that's a good thing. And this boss fight was low-key super underrated and arguably might be one of my favorite boss fights out of all of Resident Evil Village. Like, including the main campaign, I think this boss fight is like top 3 for me. Now, this is where things take a turn and get really crazy. We beat the boss and then we travel back to House Beneviento. And this is where I kind of start to have problems with the game. I found this part in the DLC kind of tedious, and here's why. Don't get me wrong, and if I haven't made it clear already, I really like this DLC, like all of it. I really love all of the concepts. I just feel like the DLC is kind of messy. I like what Capcom was trying to do. It just feels like there was too many things going on, and because it takes place in this dream world, Capcom feels like they could just do whatever and it doesn't need to make sense because, oh, dream world. I don't have the biggest problem with it. I'm just glad we got the DLC in general. I just wish things actually made some more sense. It just feels like because we're in this dream world, Capcom could just do whatever they want and it doesn't need to make sense. I feel like the only thing that made sense was the ending, which I'll get to in a bit. But it's like the merchant, like you jump in this little hole and then it's like, okay, well, what happened to the merchant? Or it's like, what happened to the Rose clones? Like, we didn't see him again. Like I said, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to just throw some concepts at us because they're trying to, you know, show us, hey, these are just memories that you're retraveling. You know, you're going through these memories and you're going to see some wacky and crazy things. So now we're at House Beneviento, and now we get to do more puzzles. And the puzzles here are actually pretty solid. It's nothing like too easy. It's nothing too difficult. Now, I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me on this, but I actually found this version of House Beneviento scarier than the main campaign version. Don't get me wrong, the big baby was terrifying, but the dolls in the DLC, oh my god. Chat, what is this, bro? But the dolls in the DLC were a lot scarier to me. So after this section, we then travel back to the Winter's house, which is another section that I think is pretty underrated. Rose is peacefully looking around until, oh, her again. Now, I will say this, I've always found Evelyn such an annoying character, and it's nothing against the actress herself. I'm talking about Evelyn, like as a character in the franchise, she is really annoying. But in this DLC specifically, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I really could not stand Evelyn. She is whiny, complaining, and I'm just like, bro, get her out of here. Oh, a boss fight with Evelyn. Okay, I'll take it. So yeah, it's pretty random, and honestly, the boss fight's not too bad. It's kind of silly and goofy, but yeah, Rose has a one-on-one with Evelyn. They fight it out, and then Ethan? So yeah, Ethan jumps out of nowhere, who knows where he came from, to basically save the day. Now we're in the final act of the game, and this is where all of my thoughts really started to pile up, so strap in. Rose now is searching for the crystal because she is very close to it. But it turns out that Mother Miranda was behind all of this. And this is another point in the game where I started to have some problems with the DLC, because Mother Miranda tells Rose that, oh yeah, your friend Kay, he was just an illusion, and I basically tricked you into coming into this world so I could obtain your power. But this next part got me really hyped up because Ethan jumps in, and like we always say, family is forever. Rose and Ethan fight their way through the cave until eventually Mother Miranda stabs Ethan again. And this part really confused me. So we came all of this way to remove Rose's power just for her to sit there in a couple of seconds and make this quick decision and say, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. I do not like when movies or games or books or any form of media do this in storytelling, where you go all of this way to reach your end goal just for you to turn around and say, you know what? I changed my mind. I can see both sides. I can see how some people are kind of like me in the sense where we're just like, what? What is the point of this DLC if you're just gonna sit there and be like, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm gonna keep my powers. But on the other hand, I can see what Capcom was trying to portray here. Because think about Rose as a character. She never got to meet Ethan. And when she finally gets to meet her dad, Ethan tells her, hey, everything I've ever done, I did it for you. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be different. And I feel like this is a message that Capcom is trying to essentially give to the audience. It's not the fact that people try so hard to be different. It's the fact that they are different. And people take being different as weird, which isn't true. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be not like everybody else. That's kind of the point in life. That's how you stand out. That's how YouTubers stand out. That's how musicians stand out. That's how other people in general just stand out. How can you put yourself out there where you can be a different type of individual, somebody who's not like the crowd? Be a leader, not a follower. Be somebody who people can look up to. A leader is somebody who is not like everybody else. A leader is somebody who stands on their own, and that's the message that the game is trying to tell the audience. So I sat there and said, why? Why would we come all this way just for Rose to change her mind? But then I realized, no, that's not the point. The point here is the message. Stop trying to change who you are and just be the person that you are and embrace that. So we fight Mother Miranda and we win. Rose and Ethan have their moment together, and this is one of my favorite parts out of this entire DLC. It was very heartwarming, and I'm really glad that Rose and Ethan finally got to meet each other officially. And then the DLC plays the cutscene from the end of the main campaign. Rose drives away, and then we see Ethan in the distance walking towards the vehicle. There is one more thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but where is Mia? Like, is she dead? Is she just alive somewhere else? I mean, I swear we didn't see Mia at all in this DLC. It's like, if this is the conclusion, it's like, where's Mia? I love this DLC, and I arguably think it's one of the best Resident Evil DLCs that we've ever gotten. I do feel like it was really messy. I feel like there were a bunch of concepts that were kind of just thrown in here, but the concepts themselves were really well done and really well executed in its own right. And even if a lot of things in the DLC didn't make too much sense, I really liked what Capcom was trying to do here, and I'm glad that they officially concluded the Winter Saga. But what are your thoughts on the DLC? Did you guys like it, and did you have any problems with this DLC? Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.